Few tales are told of Hades, whose very name inspires fear and penitence, reminding us of the inevitable fate which we all share. I, however, mean to tell you such a tale. Listen carefully.
Like a bat out of hell, I'm Danny Jack, and today we're talking about Hades. This poetic roguelike developed by Supergiant Games is a one-of-a-kind joyride through blood-soaked chambers and heartfelt stories. Supergiant Games never fails to deliver in their artistry and storytelling. Hades is no exception in this fine list of games either. Presented to you through the lens of Hades' very own son Zagreus, you are tasked with escaping the Underworld, though of course Hades has no intention of letting his son reach the surface. You must battle your way through 3 levels of ascending difficulty, facing a boss at the end of each themed terrace of the Underworld. As you ascend through each of these levels, the Pantheon of Olympus, your family, assists you along with other associates and family members of Zagreus. Zagreus has a decent list of weapons he can use to face down the foes of the Underworld. From a powerful apocalyptic sword used by his father to face the Titans, to a ridiculously difficult to use machine gun shaped like an eagle. Every bout of combat is pretty damn satisfying too. The tight gameplay and randomized power-ups add great replayability to it. Each run through the Underworld has its similarities, but it's generally different in its accents. You might face a different boss at the end of a segment than you did before, or perhaps an altered version of the same boss. The enemies and abilities you acquire on the way to them will also vary drastically. The Olympians assist Zagreus in this journey upwards by granting him powerful boons. You can get the power of lightning on your attacks from Zeus, knockbacks from Poseidon, a doom effect that damages enemies over time from Ares.
Oceans, they are filled with danger, not just water, little Hades.
The boons have varying rarity and can appear more often than others when you do find them, and some combinations can be formed between gods for an even greater boon. There's honestly a staggering amount of different boons to choose from for each god too. This is the random aspect of Hades. The real meat and bones flavor of the gameplay is derived entirely from combining boons, trinkets, and the knowledge of what comes next to ascend. Even if you fail and you're sent back to the start, the journey begins again. But like in most roguelikes, you can spend a currency known as darkness to empower yourself permanently. This helps make each subsequent journey up a bit easier through the Underworld. Now all of this is your normal roguelike stuff, sure, but what really drives the game for me is the narrative. The story of Zagreus trying his damnedest to reach the surface, to find his mother and just get some answers. Almost every single individual you interact with has dialogue that evolves the more you talk to them. Well voiced as well, I might add. From your own father Hades to the amalgamate essence of chaos, there hasn't been a single repeated dialogue I've come across yet in my playthroughs. So this makes dying have its own little reward in return. You get to have these new pieces of dialogues with the denizens of House Hades, and then buff up and head out. It's a pretty decent cycle. The characters are all fully realized and interesting in their own right. I find myself wanting to run into certain characters or gods just so I can further their stories along. There's even an incredible bit at the end that begs the question if you'll come back, just to see if the dialogue changes. Trying to exhaust them has become a little side project of mine. I have to say it's not very often I find myself coming back to games like Hades that I've beaten before. It's usually because the persistence it took me to get to that ending the first time, and all the prior attempts have drained me. Hades did not have that effect upon beating it. In fact, it gives you a powerful incentive to come back in the form of the story, and the evolving narratives they provide. Supergiant seems to have a knack for fusing story, art, and music into a wondrous concoction. Hades does not fall short in the slightest. It's a beautifully crafted game, with incredible characters that have spellbinding voice actors, and life-altering music to accompany the most incredible moments in the title. Hades keeps you coming back, trying to push your way out of the Underworld one more time, just to see if a thing has changed. It's well worth the time, and will challenge even some of the more hardened players out there. If you hadn't had the chance to play a Supergiant game before, this is the one to jump in on. Thanks for watching.